Good evening, Ruby Sophia Haas. This is Grandpa John Haas reading to you tonight with Audrey, Little Elephant's Trunk. Little Elephant's Trunk, the story begins with all over the land there was great excitement. It was springtime, and springtime meant babies. Babies everywhere. The chimpanzee's baby clung tightly to its mother. Aw, look at the little chimp. The giraffe's baby nuzzled its mother's face. The tortoise's baby struggled out of his shell. Come on, little tortoise. The hippo's baby took straight to the water. The zebra's baby hid in the long grass. And the springbok's baby ran and jumped. The elephants had a new baby too. The whole family rumbled with pleasure as they gazed lovingly upon little elephant. That's the little elephant, little Ellie. Little Ellie took her first wobbly steps and fell. Something long and gray was tripping her up. She struggled to her feet and it happened again. But now her mother was calling, Ellie! Ellie, come on, hurry. The herd was going to the river. Audrey. Little Ellie hurried along to her mother, stumbling as she tried to keep up. She slipped down the riverbank and fell with a loud splash into the water. Mommy! She looked down. A face looked back at her, and something odd dangled from the middle of her face. The strange thing was her trunk. Look at Ellie's trunk. Then she realized she was looking at herself, at her own reflection. It was strange dangling thing. What was this strange dangling thing for? Little Elephant didn't know, but she did know that she was thirsty. The zebra was drinking the water, but Little Elephant couldn't do that. Her trunk got in the way. She looked at the big elephants. They dipped their trunks into the water and put them to their mouths and drank. Little Elephant dipped her trunk in the water, put it to her mouth, and sucked carefully. The cool water was so good. Yum! Now the sun was burning down. The tortoise was shaded by her shell, but Little Elephant didn't have a shell. She looked at the big elephants. They were using their trunks to spray water over their backs. This looked fun. There's a little tortoise. Little Ellie saying hi. How are you? Little elephant trumpeted with delight as she joined the elephant shower. But now the herd was moving to their feeding ground on the far side of the river. Hurry, Ellie. It's time to go. Got to join your family. Look. Little elephant followed her mother, but the water was very deep. It kept getting into her trunk. In panic, she scrambled back to the bank. The chimps swung across the river on their vines. But Little Elephant didn't have any hands. See, Ellie's only got her trunk and baby's hanging on to her mommy. She looked at the big elephants. They all had their trunks sticking up out of the water. They were breathing by snorkeling. Oh, that's what you do. Little Ellie crashed into the water, thrust her trunk towards the sky, and paddled happily to the other side. Oh, look at Ellie. She's got her snorkel up, her trunk. Look at the little fish swimming along beside Ellie. When she came out of the water, she sank into the thick, deep mud. The mud felt good in the hot sun, and she longed to cover her body with it. The hippos with their short legs wallowed in the mud, but Little Elephant's legs were too long. She looked at the big elephants. They picked up large dollops of mud with their trunk and threw them over their backs. Little Elephant tried it. She splattered the cool mud over herself. It felt wonderful. Yay, we get to play in the mud. There's a little baby hippo. The herd was moving on again, pushing their way through the long grass. The grass was so high that Little Elephant couldn't see where she was going. She was afraid that she would lose her mother. The springboks leaped over the grass with their graceful legs as they followed their mothers. But Little Elephant's legs were thick and heavy, and they were not made for jumping. Look at the little springbok. He looked at the big elephants. They walked in a long line with grandmother in the lead. See grandmother? Using its trunk, each elephant held the tail of the one in front. Quickly, little elephant lifted her trunk and grasped her mother's tail. Now she felt that she was safe. Wow, look at him walking, following in the tall grass. At last, the elephants reached the feeding ground. Little elephant spotted some juicy-looking leaves, but they were just out of reach. The giraffe, with their long necks, nibbled delicately at the leaves, but little elephant's neck was very short. He looked at the big elephants. They curled their trunks around the leaves, tore them off, and put them in their mouths. See? Elephants are chewing and eating from the tree. After a little practice, she could reach the lowest leaves with ease. Delicious. Yum. The sun had started to dip below the horizon. It had been a long day for little elephant. She snuggled up close to her mother and felt gently stroking him. Gently stroking her. Aw, look at that, baby. It was her trunk. She curled her trunk around her mother's trunk. What a very useful thing a trunk is after all, thought little elephant. Aw, look at little elephant's holding her mother's trunk. And that's the end. All right, Ruby. This was a story of Little Elephant. I hope you enjoyed it. Grandpa and Kaz and Audrey. Come here, Audrey. Audrey, say, good night, Ruby. Hope you enjoyed reading time with Grandpa John Hoss. We love you. Bye-bye. Audrey, did you enjoy the story? All right.